your name on top the players board. What's weighing more, the glory you received or what you gave the Lord? Cause you could fool the people, but the shepherd ain't impressed by what's astounding the sheep. Let his spirit kill your flesh before you drown in the deep. Take everything that you possess and throw your crown at his feet.
Alright, welcome. Thank you guys for this deck. Green City. I think this is the best Nilfgaard deck I could come up with after playing this season quite a bit. And we want to be victorious and just get a good clean exit, go for a walk. So this deck is hyper thinning. It's very consistent. We'll look at the deck since time is short. We'll look at the deck afterwards. But the idea is we're playing a lot of thinning cards. We're playing locks. We're playing some of the most expensive Nilfgaard goals and removal cards. And instead of playing many gold cards, we're playing a few super high impact gold cards. We're playing Portal. We're playing Usurper. Playing Joaquin Package. And this deck can thin to 2 cards easily, which gives it a very good matchup against quite a few decks. For example, I think we match well in the Nilfgaard mirror when we're against lockdown. When we're against lockdown, we're favored, and we're teched against 2 types of decks: bombs, and I think this is a bomb deck. Let's see what we're looking at. One Portal's good. Portal, what do we want to see? Turning Joust. Okay, hand's super good. Hand's super good. So we have thinning tools here. Hunting Pack, Imperial Brigade, both thin. Joaquin thins. Oniromancy thins. So we have good thins. We just put in 1 copy of Turning Joust because Squirrel was breaking me. But our Northern Wind is super good against recursion decks. Really good against the Banish effect is really relevant against bombs. I think it's bomb. Deck. So if it's a bomb deck, he's playing passive. Going for some removal might be nice because his hand is reactive. So he has nothing to shoot a bomb at. Let's see what he does. Does he develop? Not hurting. Give him an awkward situation. Okay. Here we want to develop our soldier lock. So we have our soldier. Now we can thin out our deck from Hunting Pack and Imperial Brigade. Maybe we should have considered using Van Morleen because it's less points. So honestly, Van Morleen might have been a better option because I don't think he can bully us out. But if he uses a bomb here, we're going to consider just outright banishing his card with Northern Wind, which I think he will do. I think he has a bomb because he has a bomb heaver that did 3 damage. So he has a bomb in hand for sure. He gave us that tell. I think he's thinking, does he try to win the round or does he care if he loses? So if he bombs, Northern Wind is the option. Now he's going to pull out his Maddock. So our Northern Wind tech using our Banish Bomb. It's very good. Now he has awkward targets. So we've taken out one of his win conditions. So he loses this game if he loses this round. So we should commit everything to win this round. Because their deck revolves around this round 2 bleed. Okay. This is nice. Now he's playing into the round exactly what we want. We want him to keep going, and he doesn't want to give up this round at all. So we're gonna have a chance to play Hunting Pack because there's a lock on the board. Okay. Interesting. So he's very committed to winning this round. The thing is, do we play Masquerade Ball to win the round? Honestly, part of me just says yes. There's probably nothing to even poison. I think Masquerade Ball, we're gonna try to keep the Usurper. Masquerade Ball is worth developing here, in my opinion, because we need to get to the round, the final round. We must have last say, and so Masquerade Ball is slow and needs to develop, and I'm going to play Aristocrats. I don't want to play Joaquin, and we just want him to give up the round. We don't really care about the ball itself, because we can't usually poison his stuff anyway, because he has very few units. And that's actually a pretty tall target here. We're going to Hunting Beast next. If he doesn't, if we don't play Hunting Beast, it's completely fine. I think we thin. That's thin. Should we hunting? Should we hunting dogs? We also can brick him if I think he's going to use his Precision Strike. Like, I think he's going to use his ability. They actually are very aggressive with using leader ability without the Madoc. And knowing this matchup, he really, really wants to get last say because he has a really big final card. Just watch it. We don't want to play any of our final cards, but yes. If he can get a Joaquin out of me, it's actually pretty good on this board. I wonder if we actually... He bluffed me. I think you might have to use leader ability. I think it pass. I think he has to use his leader ability to take this. The key is if he has to use his leader ability with a bomb, I'm happy. If he can take it in one card, we're not too happy. Oh. Whoa. Just watch it. Interesting. That was not expected. Sure was not expected. That's not too good. But he has to pass. I'm not gonna play into this. I don't think so. I could be completely wrong. should be the... What I do. Do we use our leader ability? Oh, his hand's bad. So he has a bricked hand. He can't really play this. So now he lost last say. So the round's going really well because now we're ahead. He only has a tall removal. He has a Karate Heat Wave. So if we can keep ahead, we win. Nice. All right. So we flipped it. What I do. Oh boy. It's about to get dramatic. A very good hand. Whatever I'm playing is dying. Whatever I play is dead. Let's put it that way. But we have double removal, so his big finisher is done. Okay, Dundee, whatever you play is dead. Whatever I play is not long for this world. This is dead too. It's really funny because they both have. Actually, I might have too much removal in my hand. I don't know if I actually needed Yens. Actually, maybe having something just bad in my hand is better than having Yens and just use only Aeromancy to play that. Yeah. Because he has a Karate Heat Wave too. So I have to sequence this. I played a lot of spells. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, shoot. This is kind of awkward. Because that dragon's a problem. He might win off the dragon. It's possible. Okay, so he definitely bricked. He's just gonna banish this. Yeah. This is getting really close. I mean, considering we know one of our cards counters is one of his cards. We're tied. This is tough. This is tough. This is tough. We might have neutralized one of his bomb by attacking him away. We won. We won. We won by 2 points. He's got his big Herald Gourd. 13 points. He gets that. Okay, this Herald gets 1 point for every action you played. And I had 2 hard removable cards. Thank you, God, for the win. One more. Well, thank you, God, for the win. Dude, it's been hard. It's been difficult this season. One more win, and we are pro rank Grandmaster again. We're lickety-like the touring poet. This is Chris Sweet. It is 2021 February 21st, Sunday, and this deck is phenomenal. That was a really good matchup. There are 2 decks that, honestly, he would have won if we had not teched a banish card for his Madoc, because every time he plays a bomb, Madoc comes out for free, and by taking out Madoc early, it was a big deal. It definitely saved me. Like, he couldn't bleed me in the mid game, and he couldn't take out turn 3. But even then, we only won by 2 points. Okay, we go first. I don't think Skoya is a bad matchup for us. I think Skoya is a good matchup for us. His hand's interesting. Interesting. We're kind of missing some of our thin. We're playing against Goya, so they have elves. Okay. Elves can shoot you from the last row and deal more damage to you, so we need to be more sensitive to that. We milled a Master of Disguise. Well, Harmony. This is not, you know, he's a Dana Harmony deck. This is spicy. We haven't seen this kind of stuff in a long time. He may have lock removal. We'll find out very soon. So we locked this. If he does not have lock removal, he loses. But I think he has lock removal, because if you're bold enough to play Harmony, you're going to be playing lock removal. Oh, we have to be careful. We have to be careful though. Locks are going to be really important. We want our forward soldier. It's not our soldier. That's okay. Viper, Witcher. We might have wanted this more later game. I think he instantly lost this round though, because we're just looking at our hand. Our hand is kind of good, but we didn't thin anything notable. We did have Portal to thin, so Portal pulls out 2 cards from the deck. Okay, so now he's just trying to bleed. Now he's just playing bad cards, because now he's like, okay, I got it, you win. But we've learned the power of our deck is to really win round 1. Like, this is a very strong board to win the round. We are winning, generating 3 points per turn, but now we have some really good cards and nothing to play, which is a weird problem. Like, we have nothing to play on our side. And playing Usurper out might be okay. Actually, I think I'm okay with giving him last say. I'm okay with giving him last say. Because these cards are too good, and I have 3 engines pushing. So he's going to have to drop some good cards here. Like, he's 15 points behind. 15 points behind. So he's either dropping 2 cards. Oh, he has Harmony and Poisons. That's a pretty good answer to what I had a telephone. So he's He's definitely playing. That's a big card. Fav, getting Fav to play that. And he actually has less cards than me. I think it was okay call to make this. I had nothing to play. Only Usurper. And technically he could have pulled through. Always make sure you have gold cards in deck. Only armor. Oh, okay. Karathi. This is good. Okay, we want him to bleed. He's probably passing. Honestly, he's probably passing. We probably could have won round one if we bled. Sorry, if we had another soldier. Hand's not... Our hand's perfect enough. Like, I say our hand's perfect enough because we get to play everything, every single card in the deck. We can play everything we want. Okay. I don't know when to use my double crosses. Again, our opponent's playing pretty spicy decks. I haven't seen anyone play this. But we have some good tall removal. Okay. Okay, well he just straight up made that decision pretty straightforward. It's obvious that we're going to be playing Yens now. He's definitely getting kind of big stuff on the board. You follow your dreams. Harmony. I need to use my leader ability very soon, and I'm trying to figure out when. We definitely have two good snipes. Good. Northwind, that's terrible. I think I should use my leader ability next turn. Because he's got synthesis, I think. In your Mancy. Uh-oh. know what he's trying to do now. Okay. This is dangerous. Like, this is super dangerous. Follow your dreams. So he's gonna move them all. He's gonna push through, move everything back. I don't know if I should just stay or banish this thing to the... Next turn, we have to keep a Karathi. This is going to get so many points. He's going to push everything onto his range row. He's going to push everything to the range row, and then next turn he's going to get him. So we're going to block him out, try to block him out. Three, four, five, six, seven. Three, four, five, six, seven. That's kind of important. So he plays his Gazra. We can take out the Dana. Does that count as a army? So we get the banish. Boom, snipe on the 14. Take out 6. We put this on the melee row so we can get the melee hit here on the 2. Very good. So far, really good. He has a Treant poison. His deck is actually pretty decent. It just not. He might be able to take out 14 points here. Not sure. Nice boost again on Gezra. Another thing about this deck is we're very capable of stealing their win conditions. Like Gezra was his win condition. And he's got the poison of 15, I think. But even if he gets the poison of 15, we have coup de grace on Joachim. And actually this timing's... Oh, he doesn't have poison, his last poison. Actually this fits nicely because we have our final Joachim. And now, Gezra will push forward. Thank you guys, we got the win. We're gonna go for a walk. Ooh! Stripes. Thank you guys. Only a reset He needs a reset and pull back row. Thank you, God, for the win. Woo! Already conquered. Anything that's not of you move right now. Thank you, God, for the wins. I'll be posting this on the internet, and let's do a rap song. This thirsty. Wow. This is Already Conquered by Woo, Twin325 on YouTube. You can never play too much. Can't run out of blood. You can run out of, can't run out of blood, so you can run out of blood. Can't run out of luck. Can't run out of blessing, but can't run out of blood.
You've been looking high, you've been looking low. What you getting knows I got what you're looking for. You can search to the east and you can search to the west. What you really need is prayer and deliverance. Glory to the Most High, to the Lord of Lords. You give me what I need, so I don't have to want no more. An everlasting love, love that never ends. Thank the Lord for His mercy and forgiveness. When the pain starts, it ain't gon' get all upon His name and be there to heal it. There's nothing too small, ain't nothing too big, nothing to worry about, 'cause God already conquered it. Looking for my help, but I was searching in the wrong way. Lord, I need your help because today has been a long day. Everything I do is just to glorify the Lord, but that don't mean it's trouble. Knocking at my door, but either way you give me strength. And the time that I get down, when the world don't make no sense. It ain't no one around, sometimes my faith may take a hit, but please don't count me out, 'cause I know God got what I'm looking for, so I don't have to look no more. Money can buy you love, some people bring you peace. I pick my Bible up, I think it's time to read. I've been with no one was, something I've never seen. I wanna fly to heaven, bro, but I ain't got my wings. You've been looking high, you've been looking low. What you really know is I got what you're looking for. You can search to the east and you can search to the west. What you really need is prayer and deliverance. Glory to the Most High, to the Lord of Lords. You give me what I need, so I don't have to want no more. An everlasting love, love that never ends. Thank the Lord for His mercy and forgiveness. When the pain starts, the kid ain't gon' get all upon His name and be there to heal it. There's nothing too small, ain't nothing too big, nothing to worry about, 'cause God already conquered it. Hands of a working man with promises to pay. The lazy man that cursed the land will hate the honest penny. See everything a working man makes, he gets to keep.
A man don't work, a man don't eat. That's deep.
See, God was looking down on the struggle with an attitude. Everywhere we went, man, me and brother had an attitude. When I couldn't provide for mine, I hated to feel it. Trying to live a life of crime, so unfulfilling. And it was the days are over, all the trouble days are over. I'm sold out, I'm old, and now the right before the truth. And they brother, I ain't worried, but God already conquered. Trust and put your faith in God. You know God will honor it. Look, everything is safe with God. God will bring you confidence. Everything He got in life, God help us accomplish it. You're looking high, you're looking low. What you didn't know is I got what you're looking for. You can search to the east and you can search to the west. What you really need is prayer and deliverance. Going to the Most High, to the Lord of Lords. Give me what I need so I don't have to want no more. An everlasting love, a love that never ends. Thank the Lord for His mercy and forgiveness. When the pain starts, the kid ain't gon' end. All upon His name, and be there to heal it. There's nothing too small, nothing too big, nothing to worry.
Man, he's so good, man. I got so good, he's so good to me. Hey, holy living in the making, man. We're with the brothers in the fellowship, man. Got the three brothers up here, man. You know what it is, man, dog. Got good, powerful Sunday, man. Right now, right now. Thank you. You know you're right here, man, representing hallelujah.
I was running from conviction for too long. I knew right, but I still wanted to do wrong. Making excuses, stuck on feeling life a sin. I wasn't living life, cause life ain't life without Him. And every time I heard, thought that it would never end. Now I'm in His word, and that is like my medicine. It's so good, both the author is my best friend. I'm the family maker, the beginning and the end. There is no one greater than the Almighty Creator. And the Almighty Creator sent His Son to be a Savior. And the Savior hung upon the cross and He was crucified. There is no other greater than the love of how should die. He paid the price, He did so we could be forgiven. But He isn't in the grave no more. My Jesus, He is risen. So remember me, my Lord, when I come and see Your presence. I give my life on earth so I can live my life in heaven. Hey brother, I've been worried, but God already conquered. Put your faith in God. You know God will honor it. Look, everything is safe with God. God will bring you confidence. Everything we got in life, God help us accomplish it.
Well, I dedicate this song to God and Evolet, my daughter. I don't have a daughter yet, but I'm looking forward to having a daughter. And I'm happy that we were able to win with this deck, Greed City. So this deck is the best deck from our testing this season. I'll explain it card by card. So Masquerade Ball is the most expensive card in the game, period. It's been nerfed so many times. This card's been nerfed like four or five times. When you play an aristocrat, you get to play, every time you play an aristocrat, you trigger it. And when you trigger it, you get a Fangs of the Empire, and using our combo, aristocrat combo, we can trigger 2 Fangs of the Empire in a single turn, and Fangs of the Empire basically eliminate a single card with poisoned. If a card is poisoned twice, it dies. So the only downside to Masquerade Ball is if you play it and you trigger Fangs of the Empire, and your opponent removes poisoned, your second Fangs of the Empire can be reacted to and just useless because you need 2 procs to finish it off. Neuromancy improves the deck consistency, allows you to draw your card, any card in the deck, twice. You get to play any card in your deck, and then the next round you get to draw this card. So it's become a staple of the format. It shines. The more expensive your cards are, the provision cost cards of the cards on the bottom right card hand, it tells you how much the card costs at the bottom. So this card costs 13, this card costs 15. And when you play this deck, you can have a deck made out of 167 provision cards. And so based on your leader ability, our leader ability we chose is Double Cross, which Double Cross is the most, it's the leader ability that gives you the most provision cost. So every leader ability has a provision cost that says it gives you 16, gives you 15, so 10 is the worst. Lockdown gives you only 10 provision cards. And Lockdown basically says your opponent cannot use his leader ability. So Double Cross, we realized through our analysis, is that Double Cross is interesting because it's the best card against lock. In the Nilfgaard mirror, where you're Nilfgaard and they are Nilfgaard, if they have Lockdown, they are at a disadvantage if I'm at Double Cross, because both of us don't have leader abilities, but we have 7 more provision points. So for example, every time we're against Lockdown, we are smiling because we know, okay, He doesn't have a leader ability. I don't have a leader ability, but he gets 10 bonus provision points, but I get 17. So if you're theoretically any other leader ability on this suite, like Enslave, Imposter versus Lockdown, you're neutralized, and all you get is your provision points. So you're technically, if you're Imposter versus Lockdown, you have a 5 provision point advantage over Lockdown. But if you're Double Cross, you have 7. So if you're Imperial Formation, you have a 6 point provision cost advantage. So we actually chose this leader ability thinking to ourselves, well, there's a lot of usurpers on the ladder. If we cannot use our leader ability, that's completely fine. So we've actually built this deck strategically to win without our leader ability. And it has the ability to stack in the most expensive cards of a Nilfgaard deck because it has 7 more provision points. Because, for example, if you subtract 7, all of a sudden I am -2 and I cannot play Masquerade Ball, and I have to drop down one of my expensive cards. Explain. I'm trying to explain the game to Evolet as if she does not know what Gwent is. Maybe you need another video for that. Now, Portal is a good card that thins 2 cards. It says deploy, summon a random 4 provision card from your deck to the left of this card. After 3 turns, summon another one. So we have a lot of 4 provision cards. Part of the trick of playing such a top-heavy deck, 15 costs, 13 costs, is you need cheap cards. So these cards, in theory, this card is more than 3. It's 3. Viper Witcher Adept is a 4-cost card, so it's 3 times cheaper than Portal, right? And it's almost 4 times cheaper than Masquerade Ball. So when we play Portal, the goal of Portals is taking out 2 cards out of our deck, thinning us down, and so we can draw more consistently our Masquerade Ball and our Neuromancy. So as far as I've been playing this deck, I've actually been able to combo off every single time. I've been able to play Masquerade Ball every single time, which is one of the difficulties of a Masquerade Ball deck, is if you have the most expensive card in the game in your deck, but you don't even draw it, so you can't even use it, that's terrible. That means you're at a disadvantage because the cards you're left with are cheaper. So by having Neuromancy in the deck, for example, we're increasing the consistency of finding Masquerade Ball because it can draw any card. So it's as if I had a copy of any card in my deck, right? Twice. So Portal is helping that by thinning and taking deck cards out of our deck so we can find Neuromancy and whatnot. It's taking out the cheapest cards of our deck so we can find the most expensive cards in our deck. And we'll look at the Usurper is... I used to have Usurper as my top end. Usurper is a nice swagful man. Very beautiful. Love his beard. Usurper is basically 9 points on turn 1, round 1, 12 points on round 2 and round 3. He is... So if you play him on round 1, he's not good. He's a 9-point card. But after that, round 2 and round 3, he's 12 for 12. Which is as good as it pretty much gets. Like a 12 for 12 distributed on 3 bodies. So he's a 6-point body. Top left is the points. And he generates 2 operatives, 2 spies, 3-point bodies. And the benefit of being distributed on 3 bodies means that if they have a removal spell, they don't get all your points. So for example, if I played this guy and he was 12 points for 12 on one body, they play a single target removal, spot removal, they just immediately remove 12 points off the board. But in this, it's like, well, if they remove the 6 point, we still have 6 points. So it's kind of like distributing, like diversifying and not putting all your eggs in one basket. Like Karathi Heatwave, for example, banishes an enemy unit. So how you win in this game is if they play a Usurper, or if they played a 12-point card, bottom right, for 12 points at top left, for 12 cost, and I play a 10-point, I remove and banish that card, that means I get 12 points for 10 cost. So the points to cost ratio is what we're looking for. And every time you play a card and you're getting more value out of your card, so if he played 12 cost card, I played 10 cost card, and I neutralized him, I'm winning. That's how we win the game. And this card is actually, Karathi Heatwave's important because it banishes either a unit or an artifact. And Masquerade Ball is an artifact. And so this, you use this card and you banish Masquerade Ball because it's a 15 cost card. And if you use it 10, that means it's 50% more expensive than Karathi. So you're trying to get rid of their most powerful card is Karathi Heatwave. As we saw in some of the games we played, you actually want to win in round 1, so you have last say in round 3. If you have last say in round 3, Karathi Heatwave can be used effectively to take out their last card. Because usually people are saving their last card, the best cards for the last. So if you can remove their best cards off the bat, usually you're getting more than 10 points off that. And that's why Karathi Heatwave is a must-have. I'll be right back. So our deck is stacked with finishers. So right now, as we can see, Masquerade Ball is a finisher, Usurper is a finisher, Hakim is a finisher. These are all very expensive cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 cards that are more than 10 provision cost. And Hakim is probably the most reliable finisher. First of all, he's an aristocrat. So being an aristocrat, you can see his tags. He actually triggers Masquerade Ball. So sometimes, and I've realized with my decks with Nilfgaard, is we usually want to play Masquerade Ball kind of early because it's proactive. It's not reactive. My deck's kind of reactive. So you play Masquerade Ball early, but we don't trigger it until like the last turns. So we don't have many aristocrats in our deck. And so we basically trigger our... So we might play like Masquerade Ball on like turn 1. And then we might play Hakim as a second to last round and begin the chain of triggering. So being a disloyal unit, he becomes... You play him and your opponent gets 4 points, but he thins your deck. He actually gets to play the top card in your deck and boost it by 8, which is really nice with some of the cards that we're going to have. So he basically says, take the card on the top of your deck and play it and boost him. Now, Yennefer's Invocation is actually amazing for this because Yennefer's Invocation actually puts a card that your enemy has on the top of your deck. So you basically, you see your opponent plays a very powerful card, you use Yennefer's Invocation, which is hard removal. It removes the card from the game, but it actually puts it on your deck. Then you can use Joachim de Witt to actually play that card you had just put on the top of your deck. So that's a really good interaction. And in this way, Yennefer's Invocation is actually very much a good card to have with Karathi Heatwave, because now we have 2 hard removal spells. We can reliably use one, because sometimes the problem with having only one or the other is you're not confident whether you should use it. So sometimes we see our opponent put a value engine, a card that gets them more and more points, and we end up just playing a Heatwave, or we delay playing the Heatwave because we're like, maybe there's a better target. But now that you have 2 of them, Yennefer's Invocation and Karathi, you can confidently say, okay, if I remove this card and they play something better, well, we're gonna have this. And Masquerade Ball also gives that insurance, because if we need to remove things off the board, and since our deck can draw all the cards in the deck, we know we have Masquerade Ball, the things the Empire can remove 1 card. We know Karathi Heatwave can remove 1 card. And we know that Yennefer's Invocation can remove 1 card. That's 3 cards we could remove. All right. Now, along with Joachim, and God bless Joachim in Sweden, is we have Coup de Grace. And Coup de Grace is amazing with Joachim. First of all, like Oniromancy, it has Echo. Echo means that when you play this card, you get to put it at the top of your deck at the beginning of the next turn, which means that Coup de Grace and Oniromancy shine when you play them twice. When you play them once in round 1, and then you play them again in round 3. So we can aggressively use these cards to win us round 1, and then we can expect to recycle and use them again in round 3 or round 2. Now, Coup de Grace is amazing because it basically says, damage it by 3, that's pretty bad. But if you kill the creature, you get to play that creature. However, conspiracy. If the enemy target has spying, you always get make a copy of it. So Joaquin being a spy, being disloyal is a spy. It basically means that you play Joaquin once, play the top card. So you play Joaquin, play the top card of your deck and boost it. Then later on you Yennefer's Invocation and put a very high value target on the top. And now you play Coup de Grace on Joaquin again because it's disloyal. You get to play a copy of Joaquin, a one power. You deal 3, meaning there's a Joaquin that's 4 power. He goes -3, he's at 1 power. Now you play another Joaquin for 4 power, and now you boost the card you just put on the top of your deck with Yennefer for ace. And that is why there's a good triangle going on between these cards. As you can see, Joaquin, Yennefer's Coup de Grace is a very, very powerful card, and you are able to get this. Again, the consistency here is you're able to get this combo off every single time. Every single game. Which you cannot say about every other deck. This deck can thin to 2 cards. This deck thins to 2 cards every single game, assuming they didn't mess with your deck. And a big part of that is Roderick. And Roderick might be why this deck is the greedy deck. It's called the greed deck. I like this greedy deck because it has so many expensive cards. Roderick is such a good... He's an overperformer. Very cheap. He's a 6 cost card. I personally think he's too cheap. I think he should be 7. He's crazy. First of all, he's disloyal, so he's a spy. Remember? Coup de Grace loves spies. So what happens is Roderick looks at 2 gold cards in your deck, and you get to play one of them. But because we thin our deck so much, he basically guarantees us to find whatever we want. As far as I can... When I'm playing Roderick, half the time, there's only 1 gold card left in my deck, so I know exactly what gold card I'm going to have. So if you have 2 gold cards in your deck left, you know Roderick will get you one of them. You can choose either one. Now, the thing about Roderick is we like to play Roderick. He's an aristocrat as well, and disloyal. So being disloyal, he works with Coup de Grace. So you can actually play Roderick, for example, and then use Roderick to find Coup de Grace, use Coup de Grace to kill Roderick, replay Roderick. You just play 2 aristocrats, which basically turns your Masquerade Ball on twice in a single turn. So if you actually see, progress whenever you play an aristocrat. If you play Roderick, and then you use Coup de Grace, you've played Roderick once, that's aristocrat 1. Play Roderick again, that's aristocrat 2. Or you can play Roderick into Joaquin, and that's aristocrat. And so that's actually another way to do it. Is you basically Roderick, aristocrat activates first Fang of the Empire. Find Joaquin, second aristocrat, second Fang of the Empire. Eliminate a card. Right? And then Joaquin brings back the card that you put at the top of your deck. This is amazing deck. Okay. I'm in love with it. And I should also mention, there's not many gold cards in this deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's only 9 gold cards. So the problem with Roderick is if you have many gold cards, especially if you have cheaper gold cards, right? The cheaper your gold cards are, you could have more of them, right? If we didn't have Masquerade Ball, we could put 3 or 4 more, basically 3 more gold cards, potentially. Or 2 more gold cards. At least, there's 3 5 gold cards. You could put 3 5 gold, you could put 3 5 cost gold cards instead of a Masquerade Ball, right? But if Roderick is being played, you don't want to see more gold cards because that means the randomness is increased. The probability of finding what you want is lower if there are more gold cards. So Roderick likes it that there's a low gold card count. And Roderick is often a very good card to pull on Neuromancy. He actually might be the most random. The thing is, he's the most random card aspect in this deck with Portal, alongside Portal. But when you play him a little bit later, he can be very consistent and get you exactly what you want. But the thing about Roderick that we need to be careful with and actually be willing to risk is sometimes we don't have any good plays and we just need to use Roderick. And Roderick can sometimes force us to play suboptimally because sometimes we don't have a good card and we need to win a round, so we just play Roderick and we're hoping to get Oniromancy to set up our next round, but he didn't get it. But even if Roderick doesn't get the card you want, Roderick ultimately will thin cards out of your deck and make it higher probability to find the cards you do want. Now, Northern Wind I'm impressed. I only have one copy in my deck. I've really teched this in because I had a random 5-slot thing, and I realized, well, there are two cards that really need to get shut down. Maddock from the bomb deck and Queensguard. I'll look at them in a sec. Maddock and Queensguard are the two cards. They both have less than 4 HP, and they keep on coming back from the grave. So if you can just banish them, problem solved. So I've found myself in many of my games against these decks, I had used my Karathi Heatwave on a 4-power or 3-power card just because it just keeps coming back from the grave. And even though that's a good play for carryover, it makes sure we get points. It stops them from getting points later in the game. It's usually a tempo loss, and we're actually putting ourselves at a disadvantage in the short run for a long-term advantage. And so North Wind is half the cost of Karathi Heatwave, but does the same thing. So it's basically a second copy of Karathi Heatwave. And every time I've played Northern Wind on the target we want, it's basically won the game, I think. Usually it wins the game. But Northern Wind, even its worst case scenario, it's just 4 damage. So it's not too bad. 4 damage can still remove stuff. So the worst case scenario is not that bad. Its best case scenario is game winning. And that's actually how I like to used to look at cards is, what's the worst case scenario of this card? What's the average case scenario? And what's the best case scenario? And then what's the probability associated with each one? This card is actually good enough. And being as action is important. Being as action is good because Joaquim has some thinning problems. Like, for example, Joaquim keeps taking cards out of the top of the deck. And if we play too many creatures, it turns out to be that you don't want, in the best case scenario, you want Joaquim to have a high probability of getting exactly the cards you want, not more randomness. So having less targets to pull was good. So Alba Armored Cav got buffed. This thing used to be a 4-power creature and with no armor. Now it's like 5 with armor. This thing is just thick. He's a thick boy. I mean, 5-power lock. The lock just shuts down. Don't mind what they're doing. It's probably bad. But Alba Armored Cavalry is a legit card. Like, lock is so powerful. You just shut down an engine. So they pay an engine, you neutralize with Alba Armored Cavalry. And we have some lock synergies that we'll talk about. Imperial Brigade also likes Alba Armored Cavalry because this basically says there's 2 copies in our deck. If you have a soldier, summon all copies. So if you play this card, it summons the other twin copy in your deck, and that thins your deck, Imperial Brigade. We don't have many soldiers, and Alba Armored Cavalry is one of them. So yeah, we need soldiers to even be able to play this card. And we're playing like the lowest density of soldiers possible to reasonably be able to trigger Imperial Brigade, as we'll see. We don't have many soldiers, but the thinning concept remains. It's 8 points for a single turn if you play this, but it can brick. If you draw if you draw both copies, they're kind of bad. It's like 4 power for 5 cost, not good. Hunting Pack is pretty similar, but Hunting Pack is easier to trigger from my experience. It basically says if your enemy unit has a status, summon all copies. So same concept. There's two copies in your deck. If they have enemy status, they both come out. It's easier to trigger because opponents put good statuses on their deck, and we have locks, which count as a status. So if I use Alba Armored Cavalry on a target, it's activating both of them because the lock part activates Hunting Pack, so he can come out of the deck, and the soldier part activates Imperial Brigade. Now we have 1 copy of Tourney Joust, very similar to Northern Wind because we like having pairs, but we just teched in 1. Tourney Joust is actually good enough to have 2 copies. It's a very good card, especially because in this format, their Northern Realms Witcher deck is pretty good at the moment, and there's this card that has a 4 power and has a shield, and there's also a 4 power shielded card in Nilfgaard called Big Hefty Helga, and that thing, if it's left unchecked, wins the round. So this card is a very clean answer to 2 very powerful value engines. But removing a shield is relevant because shields stop all damage. So if you don't have ping effects, which this deck doesn't, if you can't deal 1 damage to remove the shield, you've got a problem when using damage to removal. That's why we call this hard removal, because Karathi Heatwave can kill anything, and so does Yennefer's Invocation, regardless of statuses like shields and whatnot. And they remove defenders so easily. Whenever we see a defender, we just Yennefer's Invocation it. That's a very big thing, because defenders are some of the most high-value cards. Now, Nausicaa Sergeant is the second soldier. So Nausicaa Sergeant is a pretty good card. it has to be answered. So we usually play this early, and it usually dies. So this is the guy who charges forward. He's the cannon fodder, and if he dies, he dies so others may live. But if he doesn't die, he becomes humongous, because every time you play a deploy effect, we have lots of deploy effects. Just count. We have 2 deploy effects on Masquerade, 3 on Usurper, 4 on Joachim. We play Joachim twice. 5 on Roderick. Coup de grace counts as 1. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11. And that's not even counting double copies of some of the cards. There's at least 11 deploy effects. So this card could theoretically grow into a 15 power card if they were all played for whatever reason. And so they have to answer this card. If they don't answer, this is also a bait to know what they have in their hand. If they can't remove this card, it sets us up for our good Imperial Brigade. That's what we like to see. But sometimes they don't remove it immediately because they want to see what else is big in your deck. But we play Joachim, and Joachim's putting some big cards. So if Nausicaa eats a removal so Joachim may live, this is good. Master of Disguise is similar. It synergizes with our lock card. Every time there's a lock, if there's a locked enemy, boost by 1. So he's actually better than Nausicaa Sergeant if there's a lock. So in theory, we actually want to play lock first and then Master of Disguise second, so he starts boosting up. And Van Morlehem, this is our safety aristocrat. He has aristocrat tag, he has bleeding, and he has lock. Very versatile, one of the best cards of the game. But it's interesting, we actually almost cut him from the deck because sometimes he was triggering us on accident. But he can be the necessary, if sometimes we're bled out of cards and we cannot trigger Masquerade Ball anymore with Joachim or other aristocrats, maybe because we've already played them, like Duntine, Roderick. Like, it's possible Roderick and Joachim were already played, or we never drew our Masquerade Ball, and now we're in a short round. He's kind of like the safety because he has the aristocrat tag. But we have to be careful not to play him too early because we want our aristocrats to trigger on time. And our last card is that we've added to our deck, and it's really been shining, is Viper Witcher Adept. And this card basically says if you have less cards in your deck, you boost by 1 every turn. And that's amazing because this card thins itself to 2 cards. Because it has thinning cards in the Hunting Pack, in the Roderick, in the Joachim, in the Imperial Brigade, in the Oniromancy, there's so many thinning cards. In the Portal, we are going to less cards than decks that are hyper thinning themselves. There are decks that drop to 4 cards in their deck. We're dropping to 2. And that's amazing. So that means Viper Witcher Adept. We don't run any of the other Viper Witcher package for other reasons, cost reasons, but this card shines in this deck. This card's guaranteed to boost. In fact, so if I had to value my 4 cost cards, I'd actually consider Viper to be the strongest. Yeah, Viper is the strongest, then Master of Disguise, then Nausicaa Sergeant, and then Van Morlehem, which is important because, if we remembered, Portal says summon a random 4 provision card to your deck, and then after 3 turns summon a second one. So it actually summons 2 copies of 4 costs. And ideally, you want the engines. Viper Witcher Adept is value engine, Master of Disguise, and Nausicaa. These guys generate points over time, so if you find them, we have 3 out of 4 of our 4-drop cards are engines. Our Van Morlehem is not an engine. So this is the worst card that can come from portals. Sometimes if we have portal in hand and we have this card in hand, we're going to keep it because we don't want to break our portal. Because if this card comes out of portal, he loses his deploy effect. He can't trigger his deploy effects, and you just got 3 points. So it's like in worst case scenario, you played portal, a 12-cost card, and you found 2 Van Morlehem Hunters. That's 6 points. That's terrible. Versus a Viper Witcher Adept, he gets played, it starts ticking off potentially, and this card can become fat, like 10 points. So in your dream world, you've done portal, and it's triggered multiple times. So thanks for watching our Greed City. This is our deck tech, and thank you, God, for the wins. Thank you, God, for Evolet. I'm looking forward to being a proud father, and I'm actually really excited to have. Today we had an amazing dream that God shared with us. We haven't had a dream in a long time, and so we'd love to understand and look at what that means. But this deck is amazing, and when I compare it like with my previous season, I usually rename a deck. So So I call Season of Love, rank 0, Way of the Witcher, Greed City. This way, we can remember what season it is and that it got pro rank. So new order. Oh, this is what we got. This is what we got. Per rank last season. It's it's pretty different. And Nilfgaard's pretty flexible. Right now, Gwent has been very well designed, and I would say that Greed City is stronger. I think this deck would straight up smack down the other deck for a couple reasons. If we just look at it, no Masquerade Ball, conditional, not as consistent. This deck's fun. It's running only it's running hyper thin as well. Running the spy package. Actually, the matchups are really interesting, but this deck does not have banish. It could win off Cantarella though. Cantarella plays the card from the other side. Imposter is also not that good. I don't think Imposter is very good. Locking, it's not very good against Double Cross. Double Cross is better because thing about Double Cross is if you're playing against another Nilfgaard deck that is not Double Cross, or even is Double Cross, you have parity on points, on how much points you can bring to the table, provision cost, but you also have the ability to play any of these cards again. So sometimes you can play Joaquin twice, you can play Masquerade Ball twice, on Neuromancy twice. You can play any of these cards again because they have the cards in their hand. So a very good use of Double Cross gives us the advantage. What does Double Cross do? Double Cross says, look at your opponent's hand. Well, you can look at 3 cards in your opponent's hand, choose to play one. And that's cool because that means sometimes you can play a card in your hand, and then sometimes you can use Double Cross to play a card from their hand and then play a card. So you scout their cards and then you play a card. Or you can play a card on your hand and then you combo it off with a card in their hand if you think you know it's in their hand. But the thing about Double Cross is sometimes you play it earlier than when they have 3 cards. If you play it when they only have 3 cards, you see exactly what they have and you know exactly how the next 3 turns are going to go. And then you can choose the best card from that for your situation. And usually people save the best cards for last. However, when people are against Double Cross, that's the thing. People change their game plans. Like, normally people play their best cards after last, but when they're against Double Cross, they have to adjust their game plan because Double Cross, they know it's coming. They know Double Cross will be able to play the best cards from their hand. And so they're hoping that, okay, they try to play some of their best cards earlier so that they leave you with some crap. And that's how you can win against Double Cross, is you make sure that, okay, when they play Double Cross, try to get rid of all the cards in your hand that you do not want them to be able to play. And try to give them cards that for like faction reasons are only good, or combo pieces that are only good when they're played in your deck. Something that played differently for our deck is we're not playing Collar, which is interesting. Maybe Collar is better, but Magic Lamp has been our preference. Magic Lamp's Djinn, you can choose between your... If you go first in this game, you're at a disadvantage, so they chose to give you a free card as an advantage. And Collar is usually better. It usually says just shut down on the unit and then damage by 3. Actually, that's something I should reconsider, but Magic Lamp has been performing well, especially against control decks. Because there are control decks that don't even have anything to lock. And they just keep sniping every single card you play. But if you play Lamp Djinn, that means they can't snipe every card. That means if I don't have Lamp Djinn and I play a card, they kill it. I play a card, they kill it. I play a card, they kill it. They put you in a position where they're trapping you in round 1. But if you have Magic Lamp and they kill it, I play a card, they kill it. I play a card, they kill it. I can just leave the round with a Magic Lamp. I could just pass out with a Magic Lamp. Especially if they have these control decks also leave very small cards on the deck, on the field. So they kill a card and then they leave like a 2-point card. So they can, if you pass, you lose the round and they take it with 2. But when you have a Magic Lamp, you're able to contest the round a little bit better. And I do think that's a good reason to keep it. Okay, I gotta go. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye. Uploading on YouTube.